This conference will now be recorded.
Hi guys, good morning. Seems let me start my screen. Can anybody confirm whether you are am I audible or not? Guys, can you please confirm? Somebody can you hear my voice?
Yes, yes.
Okay, thank you. So today's lesson would be Azure Active Directory. So by the way, any questions related to yesterday's task?
No.
Okay, have everybody
Yeah,
tried?
but just I have a question actually. I created the alert,
Rohit.
but I got a message actually, but I couldn't view the alert from my Azure account.
Um, so actually alerts will be there inside this in your monitor, Azure monitor. Go
Okay,
inside monitor and there is alerts, and then when you click manage alerts, then you will find the alerts.
okay, got it. Thank you.
And anything else? Okay, today is also very important lesson. This is regarding the Azure Active Directory, and I believe you might be thinking that Active Directory is something that might be another server or something like that. But do understand this. This is one of the significant feature of Azure, because I believe most of the Windows-oriented deployments actually has Azure as the main. Azure Active Directory is one of the comprehensive solution they use in for access control. So the Azure cloud comes with the default Azure Active Directory as a service, and this is actually a service. So you don't really need to create this. You just need to pay per as you go model. So coming to yesterday, I think in the last class, okay. So we already discussed. So let me just go to my account. So click on your Azure Active Directory. Then you would be viewing this whole Active Directory. So simple question: have anybody know any kind of Active Directory? Worked with Active Directory before? None. Okay. Now, understand. So let me ask you a simple question. How are you going to access control users who would be using your Azure services? So there are basically two different types of users. The first one would be developers who are developing an application. The second type would be operators or DevOps who would be maintaining the whole application and status of the application into active. And there would be third type of people who are basically uh, business people who are actually concerned about the billing and other related activities. So normally, how are you going to make sure that all these users have the correct access permissions? Because there are also hierarchy. So if you are talking about developers, they should they should they should not have access creating new services or new components, but they should have the access to read and access those Azure components. Coming to the DevOps, certain users can actually have what do you call this, full access control or admin level access control, and certain user might not required. So there is a hierarchy. There are certain access permissions such as deletion should be restricted. Certain other permissions one has to maintain to make sure that nothing bad happens when you give your access to your Azure account to a junior DevOps. Likewise, there is also certain restrictions one has to place on the group of business users who are just visit Azure just because they have to get some billing and other related activities. Now, if you ask me, uh, how are you going to access control all these users in a cloud? Because this is not a traditional way of access control. Okay, this is not something that is traditional. This is not something that you know. This is not something that you would be creating a Azure service, Azure or LDAP for the sign-in purposes. Azure comes with a default Active Directory. So let's see how the default Active Directory looks, and we're gonna go through default directory operations one by one. So I believe in the previous class you remembered that there is a something called tenant, right? There are basically uh, in access control mode, there would be a tenant, there would be a subscription, and there would be what do you call that? There would be there are actually 5 different types of accesses we discussed yesterday, of which tenant is something that I said we're going to discuss later case. So this is the tenant. So what do you mean by tenant? So when let's say a tenant is the core account for Azure. So what I'm doing is that I'm creating another account using tenant model. So I'm actually can create Azure Active Directory and Azure Business to Customer Active Directory. There are two things. So you want to work with both of it. There is a clear difference here. So Azure Active Directory comes with managed, of course, managed access and provisioning, pre-configured service, software as a service application, and this particular Azure Active Directory account can be coupled with Office 365, other Microsoft oriented applications. And it's just as simple that you're creating another Microsoft Azure account. Remember this. But what is this B2C directory? So when actually creating another so B2C directory, it has certain extra features in addition to your Azure Active Directory. So one of which is that it is highly customizable sign-in, because you don't really need to go with the model of, I will show you how this sign-in looks like. It would be there like a dot name of your core account, which is my account would be something like my account directory is signed up with escapable, right? So your particular tenant name, myaccountname.com. So which is sometimes the clients might not really like it, because they definitely but uh, they definitely want to have their own custom domain name. So those kind of custom or customizable sign-in options can be enabled at B2C, and of course it can scale up to hundreds of users. But it also but it cannot work with Office 365. The thing is that the first one, you will have this is completely related to license and access. So your Office 365 should have a license as well, and you will buy a license on a particular domain. And this particular domain, Office 365, can work with the default Azure Active Directory and integrate your Office 365 sign on with it. But you can't do that with a B2C, because you're using certain customizations at the domain level. So this is one thing, only the biggest difference between both tenant types. So let's go with Active Directory now. So I just want to be more clear. I'm not creating another account, but I'm creating another tenant which is linked to your account. So currently that we have default tenant. Okay, let's go to the current status. Okay, so this is the tenant information. My tenant is a global administrator, so I am global administrator. This is my particular credential as a global administrator. Okay, and the license, free ID, and this is my tenant ID, and this is my primary domain. So as I told you, my name on Microsoft.com. Okay, now this is a tenant, right? Now I'm going to create another tenant that, okay, so it is going to be another global level admin. Okay, and when I do this, I have to give certain organizational name. So I want to create something called sense, initial domain sense. Let me check, this should be global. Okay, this domain should be available. Sense India, let me check, that should be there. Yeah, so this is the domain name. Okay, I don't really need to go and buy it, but if I want certain let's say enterprise level services, I need to have this domain bought by myself. And of course the country region would be, you can choose anything. Currently I'm choosing data center location would be yes. You can see the whole information. I can just create. So I hope this is clear till now, the creation of a new tenant. Any questions? I think we can discuss in the short time we get while in the creation process. So if you have any questions, it's the right time to shoot to me. Raghu.
So Abdul, what is the second option? Like Azure Active Directory B2C, you told, right? So what is that one?
It's a business to customer. So you are creating on behalf of your customer. So the scenario is something like you can also create this behalf of your customer because very few of them really take that into account. But normally, let me just refresh. You will find the new tenant information here. So I believe for Microsoft users, it takes really high important for people to use Office 365, right?
Yes.
So that is the only difference that really makes. With it, you can use Office 365. With this method, you can't use Office 365.
Okay.
That's it. Nothing much. Okay.
Okay.
Now, yes. So I'm already as a tenant. So I can't see other tenants because I created another tenant. Okay. Can anybody remember what is the name of the domain? It's Sense India, right? Maybe that one. Sense India. What is it? Tenant information. I can switch from here, not a problem. So you see, this is my new project. Okay. Now I can just click switch. Again, the only problem is with this method, you have to pay the bill. So currently I have some benefits by using my default account. I can't get those benefits if I start working with this account. Okay. So if you can see that I'm still a global administrator, and this is completely different account. Remember this, it's like a new account, but it is completely linked to my account, but the billing process is again different. Okay. So if you check, so here, let me just create something here. Okay. So let me just create a virtual machine. Now it is going to ask me, do you have a pre-trial service? Then I have to again fill all the required parameters to get this pre-trial. But normally I'm not eligible because they are not going to give you for every account 200. Then you can actually, make use of transforming your portfolio. So now again, I have to log in again, but this login is associated with my default account. Okay, that's why I have to again sign up, which is not something, which is something that I don't want to do right now. But please do understand, there are certain benefits called student benefits. You can request for them. They will almost give you 20,000 rupees benefits. So I think it's pretty much good for you to learn Azure. That is a really good amount of credits. Okay, so let me sit back. Let me go back to my. Where is my Azure? So tenant level clarity is given. I hope that is clear. Okay. Now So when there would be requirements, because normally when a new customer pops up, the first thing they would be asking is that, hey, can you actually help me to create a secure infrastructure from Azure directly? And so it means that you would be a company can have multiple projects, and each project will be associated with a particular tenant. That is possible. Otherwise, you can actually host them in the endpoint as well. Okay, so that's about the tenant with Azure Active Directory. So let's go. What are the basic requirement for any access control services? The first and foremost, the access control services would be creation of a new user, creation of a guest user, creation of a group, creation of a role, and I believe these are the main required access control methods. So requirements normally. So access control method can be possibly in two different ways, but let's go with slow phase. Let's discuss about creation of a new user. Now, either you can create a user by using, since I'm a global admin, I have every access I can create as I wish. But as you reduce your access permissions, again, this creation process can be changed. So coming to the global user perception, the first and foremost method one would be using is I can invite a user to sign up. This is so easy. Simply give the name of the user, test, the address would be like test@test.com, and then I will say test. Last name would be please sign up, and then here when he sign ups, you can actually attach him to different groups. Okay, let me go with that. That's a good move. So let me first create groups. This is very important. So basically, any organization, you have such a lot of groups, but in my organization, I simplified. So here I simplified that it's better to use almost minimum 3 different types of groups or 5 different types of groups. So let me go with the 3 minimum. So here the security team is completely different, and this is Office 365 or a security. So currently I'm not about Office 365 is a different group. It's about so this is for business users. So security is for your main Azure accessing users. So I'm gonna mention a group name, which is would be admins. Let's say global admins, power user. I think that is better. Power user. Group descriptions. Admin access control Azure network. Okay, now everything is good. Now create. So group is created. Okay, now let's create another group. Guest. I think I don't really need to create. I can directly go create a guest here itself. Okay. So this is a group. But let's anyway. Let me create another. Dev access read only. Now if you check the groups, sorry. If you check the user now, invite user, test test@test.com, test, blah, 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 blah. Here I can select a group. So already there are 2 users. So I'm saying this is a dev, and I'm selecting it. You can select more than a group, by the way. Here, there is something called the role is a user role. So there would be a role as service role as well. We'll come to that. Coming to the settings. Here is the settings that whether you can sign in or not. I say yes, and the user location would be India. Okay, but he would be going to Indian. I mean, I want to go with US because that's the way I want every information to be there. But if you change here the user's location, a lot of impact would be there with respect to accountability. So always make sure you're assigning to the right location. I can send an invite. Of course, this is just a simple invite. Okay. Now you want, so if you want to see the number of users, you can't see in that shortcut. You can see it here. Okay. So I invited user name is Alice. Oh, okay. This is something else. Okay. This is test@test.com. His user type is guest. Then he is like, I invited him to sign up. So if you want bulk of activities, you can use bulk create. You can actually have the template download, and you can enter all the number of users in this template. Now you can even do that. Okay, just edit the template, upload it again. You see, you can just implement everything in the CSV and upload the same template and submit. All the users will be created. Okay, so and so most of the Microsoft Azure accounts sometimes would be enterprise accounts. So it's a I believe weekly or daily basis process. So yeah, you can do that. You can use a guest user, new user. Here is something that one has to really remember. This is multi-factor authentication. So this multi-factor authentication. So these are basic settings. So sign in allowed for the users would be this one, and these two users are allowed for signing. Now if you go to the billing, there are no users allowed. You can also bulk update, but yes. Now you can see, you can select a user if there is any for the billing administrators. So this is the bunch of hierarchy I was just talking about. So normally global administrators are the most powerful administrators. Maybe in a company there are very few, maybe one. But the bunch of other administrators such as billing administrators or password administrators, service administrators, these are something that one can actually create a hierarchy so that it is clear and systematic. So this is about creation of users in default directory, and I believe a good update would be task would be number one, just to create a multi-tenant. I mean, create a new tenant. AD, and the task two would be create the groups. Each group with different access control. Okay. Now, next, task 3 would be create one user per group. Now, this is something that this is a premium trial feature. So if you want to have See, currently my account is with benefits. Well, if we were to have the power to, complete control over password resets, then I need to pay extra premium for that. This is something a bit of nasty from Amazon and sorry from Azure end. But nothing less, this feature is actually can be invoked by user for free, but it's just that you can't reset it. And normally, according to the standard set practices, set, it's always good that the password reset is always be available at user. And coming to the user settings, you can even have certain you can restrict the access to the admissions portal or not. So you can, if you put X, all users will get restricted. You want app registrations or not? You can put no, and all app registrations will be down. So you can even put how the LinkedIn connections can work with it. So certain business users might want to attach their LinkedIn accounts with their Active Directories. You can even control that here. So this is about the complete user setting page. So in short, if you want more features, such as for enterprise level applications, you have to request them. Okay. Uh, so for enterprise account, you can actually has a lot more data. Certain things actually need to be verified at the enterprise level security catalog. But nonetheless, you can see that the basics such as consents and other stuff, these are the defaults. Okay. But if you want extra consent and other permissions, you can go to the security. Okay. And you can actually change the so you can ask for user consent, because this is like it makes things a lot more easier, because if somebody is newly accepting into your organizational ID or the Microsoft Azure access, then you can actually ask the consent in accessing any kind of organizational data and be them responsible. Okay, so this is like cooking compliance with the access control. This is one of the best feature with respect to enterprise level application. Okay. Uh, so they say that okay, there is basically none, but normally this is how it's gonna look like: 70 apps, all the users, everything else. So let's go to our user settings and diagnose and solve problems. If there is some problem with the unexpected user and you want to troubleshoot, this is like a FAQ. It will help you mostly. It will at least guide you to what to do for new DevOps users. And you can always check the sign-in activity of all the users. Okay, so you can see from which particular location one is getting accessed and what is the conditional access and everything. So the best part is you can even make sure that these sign-ins, okay, can actually consider as an audit log, and you can even maintain certain compliance level requirements on top of it. You can even configure it. Okay, but one has to understand that in any big organization which has at least 50 to more than 100 of users, it's very hard for you to actually maintain certain like compliance level information based on sign-in, and you actually need to use the Azure compliance service. We can discuss that later, but coming to the default directory, this is one of the most important for now, which is user creation, which we already did, and then group creation, which we already did. Okay, and so this is something that external identities. This is something if you want to create access flexible user experience, then you can actually create a user flow identity access providers. So there would be you can actually add a Google, You can add group Facebook. So these are all integrations with the access control. Okay, so this is for if you want allow your users to have a simple painless access control, use their Google, use their Facebook, mostly suitable for smaller organization types. And coming to the role, this is something that I was stating that one has to identify. So there are certain roles. So my role is global administrator, and there are a lot of other roles here. So there are a bunch of application administrator, developer. So these roles, what they basically contain, okay, these role will help you to actually make sure what kind of hierarchy one actually need to design in your Azure Active Directory. So if you want to create a custom role, you again need to pay a premium. So certain things are a bit annoying, by the way. So normally in AWS, you don't really need your IAM is completely flexible. You don't really need to pay extra, but here you have to pay, unfortunately. That is how it is. So yeah, you can create a custom role. Either you have to use whatever the roles available, and you can, if you just say you're a security reader, okay. Now you can add a new assignment, okay, and you can add a particular group, a particular user, maybe this one, and then he has the access permission for security reader. So this is how it is categorized, okay. Now you want certain, like what you call this privilege identity access management. So if you go inside privilege access management, let's say you have the eligible Azure Active Directory roles and the resources. But this is certain, this is a bit advanced. Normally, very few will go into such land of access control management, but that are actually required when you have any issue scenarios with respect to security. So currently you can see that you created users, you created groups. Now you know how to attach a role and what are the predefined roles, and you also know that you can't create a new custom role unless otherwise you pay a premium. And if you want to work with something else, suppose you want application developer, there is already a role. Just attach all the candidates to it, and you can attaching is nothing but assignment. Okay. So coming to the administrative units, currently we don't have any administrative units. We can add one. Okay, this is like okay. Now inside this administrator units, you can add users, groups, and the roles and administrators. This is gives you a clear, concise, systematic view. Okay, how many team members? These many. How many administrative? How many business users? Another department. So this actually helps you to maintain your Active Directory in a systematic view. And this is very much in compliance with the normal Active Directory way of handling services. So if you see, this is more refined a bit than the generic Active Directory service. So now you go with the enterprise level applications. So these enterprise level applications has a lot more extra with respect to auditing, logging, log management, access reviews, conditional accesses. So this is completely with respect to enterprise level applications. You can see that you can see the complete sign-in activity of all the users in your enterprise application. You can use insights. This is something that one has to pay. You see, yeah, that's one bad part, but nonetheless it's also good. If you nobody gives free insights, no free dinner. So if you want to see any audit logs, you can check the whole access log of your infrastructure normally. Okay, now you can provision logs. So provisioning logs is something that who created what. Okay, this is last 24. I think nobody created nothing in this provisional logs. Okay, let's actually go with the 7-day and see. You will see certain items. This is interesting. Yeah, because I'm not qualified as enterprise application, right? So normally for enterprise level, you will have it. Access reviews, and admin consent requested. So these are actually handled at enterprise level. So basically, let's say your security expert would be responsible for that enterprise part. So you don't need to worry much. But it's better you know that there is certain section called enterprise for enterprise applications in Active Directory. And we have a certain interesting part which is called devices. Okay, I think you bring your own device. There are a lot more other companies which work in the same fashion. We can actually make sure that what are the devices actually in connect, and you can even manage them. Yeah. So again, this is a preview feature, and you have to pay for this one feature. Mm, devices is done. App registrations. So you can register an app, name of the app, of course, what kind of tenancy it needs to have, and other just register will give you the required multi-tenancy or single tenancy. So because app will get and it has some endpoint features as well, you see. So you can, if you are actually somebody who actually developing a tool on top of Azure infrastructure, you can actually utilize these endpoints to get the related request or endpoint access. That's good. Now, identity governance is something that is very big with respect to security domain. So this is very much required with, you need to actually buy this. This is completely related to security people. Okay, so you create an entitlement packet management. This is something that you create a complete lifecycle, access lifecycle. So if somebody is coming in, what kind of a workflow or what kind of a process one has to go through, and you will be creating certain things such as a reviewing the process. And if you find any kind of identity access management workflow failures, you can immediately get this fault. I can fix it. So this is completely. I don't want to pay for this one, but you see, you define the life cycle here, the whole resource. Okay, I just wanted to show you this one. Okay, now we have certain custom domain names. This is the most interesting part you have to remember. You can add a custom domain. You don't really need to work with this one. I can create a new custom domain like, I don't know, Abdul myself dot com. I can just add it and I can route my services via this domain as well. Okay, now, so what are the features you're seeing? These are all completely premium features. Mobility, MDM and NAM. This is basically so we have certain enterprise level integrations. So there is something called AirWatch by VMware. I believe Raghu might knowing it. Okay, so this is another integration, and you can add this integration as an application to your infrastructure. But that's again a premium feature, by the way. So you really have to a bit cautious with respect to the number of premium features you're using, because that can really become expensive really fast. If you want to make a branding, again, you have to buy this feature. So a lot of features here are just premium. Okay. So coming to the security, okay, this is something that you can use. Okay, uh, so this is the basic security. It has a conditional access. You can define the conditional access. Okay, again you have to buy here. So yeah, you can create a policy, and this policy will help you what kind of rule set that you want to implement in the conditional access. Just play with it, just look into it, maybe go through it. That will actually give you a bit of more understanding. But one of the few activities, one you really need to be sure is make sure that you have the required user group and the role administrator access. These are the main three things that one has to remember. And security is something that maybe a very experienced users will be demanded of. So currently we are not looking into security. Yeah, and this is about compliance or monitoring of your IAM access control. So you can see that most of these sign-ins will be for the last few years will be here, a few days will be here, and obviously like audit logs, same as city sign-ins. Any provision lag will be here. Let me check. There should be some provision lags in last 7 days. Didn't I provision anything? Okay. I don't know why it is not popping up. But did provision or VM, right? That should be there. So these are something like integration with the log, diagnostic settings. This is something that you really need to care for. Workbooks. What are workbooks? See, workbooks are series of automation steps which can work with your log settings. So if so, um, this is like an automation of certain activities. You can define them in your workbook. You can use them for automate. We can see this tomorrow regarding the workbooks a bit. Yeah, pretty much that's it. Or you can raise a support request here. If you have any issue with access control, you can directly interact with the support. I believe you already remember we were discussing about the type of supports we need to buy. Maybe a dev support, maybe a professional or assistance 24/7. This is what it's gonna help you out. Yeah, this is all about Azure Active Directory. Any questions on this front, guys? Amaya, Rohit, Richa, Raghu?
Yeah, no,
No, sir, Deepak.
Okay, great. So I believe you can make the task, which I actually pinged. Did I ping? No, I didn't. Okay. Just do this. This is good enough for the Azure IAM for me. Okay. Uh, maybe today, tomorrow is what? Today is Friday. Oh, yeah. Okay. Let's get together on maybe on Monday. But before this, I might give you a weekend task. Try to do it. This will help you out in finalizing how much you know with respect to Azure. So currently we have pretty much discussed except cost and billing, and this is something that we're going to discuss on. Monitoring discuss, Active Directory, load balancers. Yeah, create a ELB. I believe, didn't we discuss regarding elastic load balancers? Sorry, load balancers. I did we do, right? We did create it in one class. So just try. If you have any queries, I can help them on Monday. Okay. And I will give you a task. And yes, one more last message from Raghu. Raghu, did you happen to have a word with Kiran?
yeah, yeah. Once this class completed, I will call to Kiran.
Yeah,
Yesterday, I actually forgot to call him, so I informed him yesterday night. So I will call tomorrow morning. So today I will call.
yeah, that would be great, Raghu. Yeah, thank you. So I think we pretty much covered a lot of Azure. So I think I will try to increase the level of our task today. I hope you would be okay, or should I actually make it minimal? Were you successful? I think a lot of people were successful with respect to monitoring activity. So let me give you a small hosting app as an exercise with the functional diagram, so that you can actually create the whole app, deploy it on your Azure, and get the access. Okay, so we'll do that, and that's all from my side for today. So let's catch up tomorrow. I hope you pick up the task, and let's discuss anything that on Monday. Okay, have a great day. Bye bye. Thank you all for joining the class. I hope you have a great day. Bye bye.